let's start from the beginning, because when you walked into this season, you had said that you were waiting for the challenge since you had left Survivor. You felt like this was the show for you. Why was that the case? And what was your reaction when, after, 5 years off of reality TV, you got that call to come back again?
That's a great question, man. Yeah, dude, I was craving it. Like when I got off Survivor, it was, it's this your first TV show. It's this moment of bliss. I was dating Jenna at the time, so it just, these 3-4 years after the show, it's just kind of like, well, I should say the first 2 years, you're floating off this first season and enjoying it all. But after me and Jenna broke up, I just like wanted another challenge, another, not specifically a challenge, but like another, competition. I wanted to compete so bad. I manifested the shit out of this. And honestly, I think it worked because after I started manifesting it, here comes the phone call. Seabass, we're ready for you. I was so stoked. I was so mentally and physically prepared for this. I was just ready, man. I wanted another 5 years. That's a long time. I wanted that.
So that being said, I'm sure you had a lot of preparations in mind as to how you wanted to make good on this second chance. In comes the jet ski. In comes these vets. Here comes one particular vet. Now, it's interesting because I feel like your edit was largely oriented around Tori in so many ways. I mean, how much did your gameplay get affected and change immediately with not only having Tori there, but also being put on her team as well?
It's crazy because I come into this game with a straight focus, like no girls, do not do this again. Because last time on Survivor, I was so sidetracked with Jenna, and it completely control your game the way you think. So I'm thinking, my grandma, she said, "Don't fall in love again, Sebastian." And I said, "Okay, you got it." First day, here comes Tori. I'm like, "Oh my God, she's so hot." So, but it was actually funny because I really didn't watch much of the challenge a couple of years ago. And my sister, she's like, "Sebastian, you have to watch my favorite competitor on the show, The Challenge. Like, you need to do this show." And it was Tori. And she sent me the link to the YouTube clip or whatever of her getting engaged on the challenge to Jordan, getting down on one knee. And I was like, damn, she's hot, but she's definitely a competitor. That was the first time I ever saw the challenge, that clip. 3 years later, here she comes. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like the only person I really, really studied, and now she's here. That's kind of manifesting it, right? So
yeah. So was grandma's reaction to everything that's happened the past 9 weeks?
she knows I'm a lover, man. She was just like, I knew you'd do it again, but I'm trying to protect your game because she watches the show and she's like, you can get so sidetracked with love. But I think honestly, it really didn't pull me in any direction too far. Tori was always with the vets. I was always with Survivor. It was just kind of nice to have that connecting link. I would get like info from her while we were snuggling and smooching in bed, and it was kind of cool to have her on that side of things. But it didn't really affect my game besides the fact that I was just so like I couldn't stop looking at her. It was just it did I did lose focus a little bit, but not entirely.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the other strategic stuff we didn't necessarily see until this episode, which was, of course, the Survivor Alliance. And we definitely saw, obviously, Chris's perspective. We saw a lot of the perspectives of the other women, but I'm intrigued. What was your role in it? Were you thick as thieves with the people in the Survivor Alliance? Were you also seeking other avenues like some of these other people?
Yeah, I was. I mean, 100% Survivor strong. I think that, we saw two survivors win last season. We made it all the way till half of us were there, literally 7 survivors, 7 other players. So that's pretty cool to see and work as a whole. But we really were Survivor strong, man. I think the power of working in numbers like that, like with Monty, it saved my ass because we put all of our votes on Monty. And without the power of that, I could have been in against Tyler. So I think working with that really helped me all the way to the end. And it was almost like a shield, you kind of use this like, we're Survivor strong, get away from us. And you don't really have to do much when you work as a whole. But I was definitely a key piece. I saw a lot of other avenues right as the game started to get hot, which is when I felt my best in the game, right when I went home. I was feeling like, so ready for more. I wanted so much more. Right there at the end. And, I started talking with Wes and Tori and Bananas really at the end. And Fessy was kind of getting closer and closer to me right at the end. So I missed my opportunity. If I was there for another 2 weeks or 10 days, whatever it is, I definitely would have been making some moves because you have to.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, you talk about making relationships with these veterans. Cut to last episode when you really start to get the ball rolling, or at least attempt to put Corey in elimination. And Tori in confessional is just aghast at this idea of, are you really suggesting to a vet that you try to put another vet into elimination? Talk me through your intentions here with that move.
Yeah, man, nobody was doing shit. Like, look at every season. Corey and Fessy, they float to the end. They go sleep in their room, and nobody does anything about it. So, in my opinion, I'm trying to get the name off my back because I know I'm probably going in as the only other survivor male, and everybody's targeting us. So, really, any name, but why not go big? Why not try someone that's not expecting it? I told Tori almost everything. You know, we were so close in that house. So I was just, relaying it to her. Of course, she doesn't want to hear that. She wasn't the one that told Corey. He just, found out through the people I was whispering about. I probably told too many people about that, but that's something you learn. I was also totally drunk that night, so who knows how loud I was speaking. But yeah, you have to try while you have the numbers, especially in my position where I knew I was probably going to go in.
Yeah. So to that point, did you expect Corey to confront you in the way that he did? I know you tried to sort of shunt it off onto Chris. And listen, you're a Survivor alum. This is no stranger to necessarily having people come back to you saying, "Did you say this thing about me?" Talk me through your tactics there, and how surprised were you when evidently you got so many votes against you between all these people that had some grudges against you and Survivor in general?
Yeah, I mean, that night, I think Corey, he kind of knew about the fact that we were, me and Cassidy and all the Survivor girls were like on the same page. Let's do it. I think he kind of knew that night. And I was like really not wanting to go have my meeting with the principal the next morning. Like I got in trouble. It felt like I had to go to the principal's room. So Corey was like, come on, Seabass, we got to talk. I knew what was going to happen, but it was kind of perfect because Chris, they really didn't show much of I mean, they did, but Chris was definitely spiraling. He was throwing all this shit to everyone. It all started with Chris. Nobody knew it was the truth. So I was like, I love you, buddy, but you're already in that ring. I'm just gonna throw as much shit as possible on you and get it off my back, especially when I'm talking face to face with the principal.
So listen, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask. Like you mentioned, last time you were on reality TV, you left with a romance that obviously continued into the outside world. Was this a similar situation in Croatia, or was this a what happens in the house stays in the house with Tori?
No, man, we definitely liked each other a lot for sure. Me being the lover I am, I waited in Croatia for her to get done with the show and got an Airbnb and found a cool little seaside town. So I waited for her, and we had like an amazing week. We rented a sailboat, a couple other people from the show. So we had a blast out in Croatia, literally the time of our lives. And then she just happens to be my neighbor in Miami. So we've been, we're not neither of us want a boyfriend or a girlfriend because we both just got out of 5 years. We need to get our mind straight. But yeah, we hang out every week. She's 50 years
Wow.
away, man. So I love her. She's awesome. Just having her, and then Josh lives down there in Miami. It's really cool to have a good little crew of people.
Well, last thing I want to ask is that I'm sure there are things from your time on the show that you wished had made the edit, either from a comedic perspective, strategic perspective, personal perspective, etc. What do you think is the one thing you wish we got to see from your time on the Challenge USA?
That's a great question, man. I mean, they squeeze this tiny 0.002% of what they film into the game. So you're like waiting for this moment or these things to happen, and you just don't see them. They focus so much on the gameplay. I wish they showed us enjoying ourselves like we were the entire time.
Hmm.
We go on these excursions. I don't know why they don't show us jumping off the boats, having a blast, going to these wineries and stuff like that. They just, I want to see more oomph, like a little mix of game, fun, love. It's all part of the show for me. And they definitely could have showed a lot more of me and Tori being cute, because they just put a couple clips of us being like, I'm not gonna lie, totally drunk on these clips, like fumbling my tongue. It's all hanging out. But we were super cute and we were together the whole time. So I wish they showed a little bit more of us, but you can't ask for that. But yeah.
Just bring the cameras to Miami and the story can continue.
I mean, all we have to do is put one in every corner and capture everything like they had on the show. So yeah, exactly.